Hey, Mark Allen here. Thanks for watching Four Color Commentary. This video basically going to be just some new comics finds, a few gimmicks and obscurities, but also some time talking Comic Empire with Mike. And so I haven't done that in a while, so I was glad to be able to do that again. But I just want to quickly go through some, I don't know how quickly it's going to be. It's going to be about a stack like that. So anyway, I'm going to try to make it quick. All mixed up here, okay? No rhyme or reason in this, but I'm just going to go through some things that I've been picking up lately, reading and really enjoying. First one being, okay, the Flash, the 100-page comic Flash series from Walmart. I've been picking that up. First issue was fantastic. Really enjoying the mostly not even. It's funny. It's a Flash comic, but I'm enjoying most of all the Adam Strange story by Andy Diggle and Pascal Ferry. And then also the Shazam ongoing story by Jeff Johns and oh my goodness, I forgot his name. Really popular artist, Gary Frank. There you go, Gary Frank. And so really enjoying the Flash book for those two properties, especially. Just great stuff. A gimmick. Again, I don't apologize for this. I do love gimmicks, and while I'm largely, I don't like to see gimmicks take over the industry. I do like, they have their place. I believe they have their place as an incentive if it's an already good book. Okay, if a book's good, I'm already reading it, and they want to throw a foil cover in on there or something like that. That's great. I'm gonna read it anyway. And sometimes the foil is really nice. Case in point, Silver Surfer number 75 with that wonderful foil logo on the figure of the surfer on there. Foil. Picked one of those up again just for $1. A lot of these are going to be dollar finds. A couple of other dollar finds. Incredible Hulk number 27 and 28. A Devil Hulk story. Now, again, this is not about what's hot for me in this case. This was about the fact that I loved the Jenkins Romita Jr. Run on the Incredible Hulk at that time, and I never read these. I wasn't reading it in an ongoing fashion. And so this actually has the Devil Hulk in it. I was curious about that character because I don't think I was reading when Ron Garney was on the book either. So I didn't see the first incarnation of the Devil Hulk. But anyway, picked those up, and those were a good read. This was a $1 book. It was Action Comics number 41, and I found out this was a variant. I actually was able to score a Darwin Cook variant cover. Love that cover with the Joker having just shot acid from his flower into Superman's face. Superman not too happy about it, and the Joker looks like he knows. Even the Joker knows he might be in a little bit of trouble there. All right, so the irreverent Joker looking actually pretty worried. Now, you all know by now I really like independent comics and enjoy the ones especially from the 80s, 70s, and 80s if I can find them. But this is one of the Silver Wolf books, Edge. It's not that these were done well, but that they were done with heart. And I've talked about that before, and I won't go much more into that, but they were the creators, you could tell, were putting their heart and their soul into this, and for that kind of an effort, I wasn't getting them in the day, but when I find them, I'll pick them up now, especially when they're in the dollar box. I just think they deserve some notice. And along those lines, Americomics was a big property at the time, and was a company, one of the prominent, I should say, independent companies at the time. Let me find another book before I show this one very quickly, because this one is Bolt and Star Force 6. Now, that's a great cover and a wonderful character design. Bolt looks to me like one of those, like he would have been a great Iron Man villain from the 1980s. But Bolt and Star Force 6, wonderful cover by Steve Lytle. And but the inside pencils are by Rod Wiggum, Bill Black, and such. But I mean, just really kind of a fun story. And again, independent as can be, a little rough around the edges, but fun to read, and just a great cover there again. Another Americomics. This was actually Americomics number 1. This, the George Perez cover from 1983, I believe. Perez signed it, no, 82. But the cover, I'm not sure what the publication date was on the book. It may have been 82 as well. But it's a wonderful George Perez cover with the shade on there. And just a great, that Americomics number 1. Haven't even read it. Haven't read it yet. But the cover was enough for me to snap it up. Did pick up the Swamp Thing 100 number one 100-page giant number one. Great read. First issue of Swamp Thing was a great read. I'm not generally a big Swamp Thing reader, but this one this was a good read, fun read. I enjoyed the Halloween special as well, and so good stuff. Now, here was something I didn't expect, and I don't believe that this was an intentional variant, but I always enjoy the Marvel 2-in-1 series, and most people out there did. Most old comics guys, the Thing, as though the Thing teams up with somebody else. All right. Well, this is number 80 from 1981. This is the Thing versus the Ghost Rider, and this is a case where, again, it wasn't intentional. I don't believe. I believe it was a printing error, but you have two covers. You have a purple cover and a blue cover. And I think it's just a case of whichever was the original, and I'm really not clear yet on which one was the original, the blue or the purple, but I believe from the lighter color of the Thing's Sky Cycle in the purple one, I'm thinking that the blue was the original, and it was losing some color. The ink was running out on one of the colors, and anyway, just makes for kind of a cool, boom, you got a variant there that wasn't meant to be, but it is cool, and I think it's neat. I always like to score the Marvel Classics comics, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to get the whole run, because they're hard to find in high grade, especially when you're a dollar book hunter like I am. But I did find number 30, The Arabian Nights, and just a great Colan cover there, and Gene Colan, and you know, this just one of those. They were square bound, you know, and I always liked the square bound comics, but now I didn't like them all the way. These are not good. You all know I press my comics. Square bound comics, square bound spines are not good to press because the staples are right there, and you can easily press it too much and press through the paper, press the staple through the paper. You really don't want to press square bound spines, square bound comics, in my opinion. I'm sure there are guys out there who do it. Now, okay, so hot book alert. I will do this. This is one of those people are speculating on. I found it in the dollar box. All New Spider-Man number 26. Now, I don't really quite understand the whole point of the speculation on this. Some people are asking for over $20 for it on eBay. I don't see anyone getting that. But I found it in the dollar book, and I thought, well, a dollar bin, and I'm going to read the story. Because it's the first appearance of the ultimate version of one of my favorite villains, the Taskmaster. Which, when you have the first appearance of the Taskmaster already in an Avengers comic from the late 70s, early 80s, and I have it, I just don't remember which issue it is. I do remember, though, the wonderful George Perez cover, green background, and then the Taskmaster and all of his blue, gold, and white glory. But why in the world would people think that something like this would go sky high? I don't get it, because it's just a second iteration of a character. But who knows? It's comics. Comics are crazy. Issue number 6 of FX. This is not an easy series to find out there in the wild. I'm not sure why. It is a John Byrne series by IDW, but published by IDW. But FX, I believe I have 2 or 3 other issues of that, and I'm just trying to round that series out. Haven't even entered that in my comics database yet. It's not comics database. What do I have? I've mentioned it before. CLZ. Haven't even mentioned it in my even entered it in my CLZ yet. But John Byrne. I mean, what more can you say? Now, I finally located issue number 3 of Section Zero. Section Zero was a great book by Carl Casel and Tom Grummett, and it was one of the Image books. One of the oh, it was Image. I guess it was Guerrilla Comics. Image was, you know, hosting, fostering, whatever you want to call it, other independent branches of that. I'm not explaining this very well, but you know what I'm saying. There were other owners who were trying to have their own creator-owned material, and they were doing it through Image. This was Guerrilla Comics, and Section Zero was one of those books. I believe they only published 3 issues, but there has been some other Section Zero stuff published since then, but I haven't chased it down yet. I will one day. I'm about to fall in this chair. All right, issue number 9 of Leave It to Chance. That leaves me only 2 or 3 issues left before I finally have that series rounded out and have the whole run. It's a great series for kids. It is a great series for kids. It's fun. The main character is a young girl, and kind of a cross between Doctor Strange and the Spirit, and just kind of just really cool stuff. But lots of fun there. Another copy of, and I always get these if I find them in high grade, the early Critters comics. That's a second copy of number 3 I have. Great Usagi cover. Love the Usagi Yojimbo, and I ended up having to just get rid of all of my Usagi Yojimbo trades just for space issues. I just, you can't keep everything as a comic collector. I wish we could, but you can't keep everything. And so that's, but those I'll snap up because you just don't see those every day. Now, in the area of obscurities again, this is a very obscure, strange comic. I haven't read it yet, but it was a $1 comic. And I had to pick it up. I'm gonna take this one out of the bag. I had to pick it up because I'd never seen it before. It's from Blazing Comics, The Spider's Web starring Webman. Now, Webman and the, shall I say, hulking green figure in the back, I'm sure totally original, and no, I'm sure that's a salute to famous characters that we know and love. But it seemed like there was actually was a big name attack. Oh, Chuck Dixon, writer Chuck Dixon. This cover, here's why the cover attracted me. It's a Tim Truman cover, all right, as is the flip side, G8 and the Battle Aces. So there's the same villain, looks like, going after G8 there. And so another Truman cover, but Chuck Dixon writer on both stories, Tim Truman the cover artist. As far as the interiors, they were done by a gentleman named Sam Glansman. All right. So anyway, there you go. Now, next, as a big fan of the of Marvel Comics New Universe from the 80s, specifically Starbrand. Okay, the only New Universe title I was able to get into, but to me, still Starbrand. Call me crazy, and I'm sure somebody will. But one of the best comics that Marvel turned out in the 80s, perhaps in the Copper Age. I just really enjoyed the character. I enjoyed the premise. But I found an Amazing Heroes, a copy of Amazing Heroes, number 101, which was just a tour of the New Universe, where Jim Shooter kind of breaks down what the skinny is on all the stories, on the characters, that kind of stuff, and what it's called. Then we talk with the creators behind Marvel Comics' most ambitious project in 25 years. So New Universe was ambitious, and some say it worked, some say it didn't. I'd say it probably didn't work in the long run, since the books didn't last. But all right, so along the lines of gimmicks, another gimmick cover. Let me peel the dollar stickers off so you can see a little bit more. But that didn't work. Oh well. But the Spectre number 13, which was a fantastic glow-in-the-dark cover, and of course the Spectre had those. This is one of those series I'm going back and getting a series from the 90s to read. But so many of the covers were just amazing art, and but that is a glow-in-the-dark cover, which I love. Glow-in-the-dark covers are a great gimmick. All right, along the lines of, again, here's me maybe doing a little speculating. I won't say maybe, because this is the 4th or 5th copy of this I have. But X-Men number 1. A while back, it's interesting. This book, for a very short time, was being speculated on and being sought after. All of a sudden, you can find it in the dollar boxes again, and it's not, people seem to have forgotten about it. I'm not sure if this is because of when the buzz first started that Cable was going to appear in the second Deadpool movie, or if it was even farther back, maybe it was Days of Future Past movie for the X-Men or whatever, I don't know. But for some reason, people were going after the first appearance of this character, Nate Summers. I believe that's right. And so, when I find these, I get them. Here's why I get them, is because Marvel is finally making a deal to get the X-Men and all their related universe back. And they will be, sooner or later, under the Marvel control again of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so it can't hurt. Nate's going to be used at some point. So, hey, just hedging my bets. And here's what I just told a friend of mine on Messenger just before I did this video. Yes, I still sometimes, if I'm not above grabbing, I don't believe in speculation, you know, when it goes to the ridiculous. But when it comes to grabbing a dollar book that I think is a good investment and that I liked anyway, because I enjoyed the art on that. I enjoyed Steve Scrose's art. I was on X-Men from the beginning when it first came out in the 90s, during the beginning of the Age of Apocalypse and all that stuff. It was great stuff. But I think it's just a matter of time. And it's just a matter of time before Marvel does something with the characters. So, since if I speculate, it's to flip a book, get money to buy stuff that I love, okay? And so I'll do that every time. And then, lastly, one of the series I always enjoyed back in the, I guess it was late 80s, early 90s, was Marvel's Death's Head. The first iteration of Death's Head. I have 3 or 4 copies of #1. But I've actually found these on Comic Empire's Mike's 25-cent shelf. Mike, Comic Empire of Tulsa. There's a comic store that actually still has a 25-cent shelf, and it's not just one shelf. It's a few shelves across about a 5 foot length, and you know, probably I don't know, 2.5 to 3 foot deep. So I mean, tall. So there's plenty of 25-cent comics to be found at Comic Empire of Tulsa. But I did find #2. I found #3. I always enjoyed this character. There was action, plenty of action, but he was also a comedic character. And even though he looks kind of, you know, almost horrific, he was drawn in such a way as to elicit sympathy even at times. And so #2, or #3, I'm sorry. I had #2, #3, here's #4. And heel, yes. Who knows? Can you make that doggy heel? I don't know. But maybe 5. Issue #5. No word balloons on that one, strangely enough. And issue #6. And great. This means war. Yeah. Issue #7. Huh. Think someone's out to get me, yes? Yes, I'd say so. Issue #7. And then issue #8 I have already. It is where Death's Head meets the Iron Man of 2020. The Iron Man of next year, as it strangely happens enough. But Arno Stark, and that's a great crossover. Well, so is #9, because he meets the Fantastic Four, and that's just a fun read. See, Death's Head was the only Marvel UK series that I enjoyed thoroughly and immensely the whole time I read it. Didn't last long, but and then of course when they changed it into a more Terminator type character, I was out and just didn't enjoy it anymore. But anyway, so a few pickups of late. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just segue into the Comic Empire of Tulsa. Time of just talking with Mike, talking comics with Mike. And that's always a good time. So, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading if you have. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, do that. I'd appreciate it. Hit the like button as well and share the video. But, hey, just talking about comics here and just enjoying the hobby. Not looking to get famous. That's why I don't even advertise. So not looking to monetize, just looking to share what's good stuff out there. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video. Name a series that was where you had a creative team going for a long time, and that where the artistic chores changed. What's the most shocking change you can remember in an ongoing series art-wise?
Oh, wow.
The most shocking change you can remember, where you open up the first issue of the new artist and you're like, oh my gosh.
I don't know, but it would probably be a much more modern comic, because you didn't get such shocking changes in the old days, because they try to get the next artist would sort of ape the style of the previous artist for 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 issues, and then he would start doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So it didn't cause a jarring jolt to readers. They were always worried about that. In the publishing world, so that's why you had to draw like Kirby. They wanted everything to look very similar, and so I don't know.
Yeah, but
I would think it would be a little more modern book, probably at least since 90s on up. But so I don't know right offhand.
I've got one from the 80s for you.
Yeah, what's that?
You remember when John Byrne let go of Alpha Flight and Mike Mignola came on?
Well, those are pretty different. And Mignola's style in those days was different. But Mignola's style never worked for superheroes for me. He just didn't have a superhero style, really.
But see, those few issues, what was it, just 2 or 3 issues he did of Alpha Flight, maybe 4 or 5, I don't remember, but Those were I loved those. They were creepy, and that was the group. Those were the superheroes for him to come in on and do wild stuff.
And I remember, they might do a fill-in issue that'd be really shockingly different because it was a fill-in basically. The regular artist was going to come back the next month anyway. And so it was mainly just to kill time, and those could be rather jarring sometimes. Yeah. But I don't know, right offhand. I don't know. You're right. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah. I think about the Nexus series. Now you were a big Nexus fan. I was a big Nexus fan.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people even remember Nexus.
I don't know, but they should.
Under 35.
It was the best superhero book of the '80s, folks. Go check out Nexus. You will not be disappointed.
Mike Baron and Steve Rude, and now there was a period of time there. What was it? 10 or 12 issues where Rude was taking a break.
Yeah.
And there were lots of standing artists, and for some reason, the only name, I think Angel Medina actually did an issue or two.
He might have, but usually they got
Paul Smith.
Paul Smith came on, and most people didn't mind that so much. Paul Smith was a talented guy, and
his and Rude's styles are not dissimilar. They weren't.
They weren't. You could tell they were definitely different, but it wasn't a jarring thing.
But because under Rude's pen, Nexus was I'd call it an elegant series. I mean, it was very
Rude's
smooth.
art is special.
And it was
why companies don't hire Steve Rude today to draw anything? I don't get it. Because he's a super talented guy, and he gets to do a cover a year or 2 covers a year, and I don't understand that. Why you wouldn't hire a quality artist like that to work for you is just insane to me.
But to me, Paul Smith's art has some of the same sensitivities, and if it had been inked and colored the same way, like I don't know, maybe Rude inking Paul Smith would be something to see. That'd be But I don't know. I've always seen their styles as being kind of similar, kind of like you with talking about Kelly Jones looking like Bernie Wrightson, as far as And there was another one I was thinking about the other day. Who was it? I was saying it looked like Kelly Jones. I even mentioned it in the video, and I can't remember who it was. But see, I never saw that. But I think that all goes to the eye of the beholder.
Well, Kelly Jones has about 8 different styles anyway.
Right.
And so.
My favorite was his Batman run of the '90s. Batman with the ears.
The big ears Batman. I always liked the big ear Batman.
I did too. Those were fun
worked
times.
for me. Some people don't. Actually, when people, that's that big ear Batman. I'm gonna buy that. I'm like, okay.
Well, and some of the creepiest Batman covers. I mean, he can make any villain of Batman's look just like a creep show.
Well, so it just shows you why
Yeah.
They make chocolate and vanilla ice cream.
They make chocolate and vanilla.
My grandmother used to say.
Yeah.
So I love the big ear Batman, and he hates the big ear Batman.
Okay. So new comics today. What's selling?
Well, for Marvel, it's definitely Immortal Hulk. That book is just taking the comic book world by storm, and probably because Marvelites, you're all long suffering, I know, are just so happy to see a quality book come out from Marvel that they're going insane for this book. I don't even know what first prints for most of the early issues sell for, because I can't keep them, and I don't get them because everybody's trying to find them. But rather large amounts of money, I hear, at this point.
Well,
but is it a good book? It is a good book. Best Marvel book in 10 years. Now, I know people will say, oh, well, that Vision miniseries won a bunch of awards. Well, okay, but it was pretty weird, man. Let's face it. That Vision miniseries.
Never read it.
Well, it was weird, and it's a weird read. Was it good? Well, yeah, it was okay. Was it the best book Marvel put out in 10 years? Because Marvel hadn't won too many awards in the last 10 years. Let's be honest. But Hulk is a top quality book that reminds me so much of the old school Marvels when most of their books were quality.
Well, and the old school and the really old school Hulk, the Stan Lee Kirby Hulk, was menacing.
Yes.
He was a monster.
Yes.
He wasn't a gentle giant.
No, and they've kind of got back to that.
Yeah.
And it works. It's so that tells me Marvel, when they put their mind to it, can do quality books.
Yeah.
And I just wish they would put their mind to more of their titles. Personally, the real problem with Marvel to me is they have, I don't know how many titles, 80, 90, I don't know how many titles they have, but most of them do not sell. And so why would you not thin the talent pool and get your other books being better by cutting out 40 or 50 of these titles that don't work, and and concentrate on the 30 titles and you could make all of those better.
Well, no more than a month or so ago, that was the rumor mill. They were supposed to cut,
well, they need to
half their titles,
but all they do is add more. Like lately, they're doing what they did a few years ago with Avengers. I don't know how many Avengers titles there were at one time, 12, 14, I don't know. There were too damn many, I remember that. And only about 2 or 3 of them actually ever sold. The rest of them were just fodder for my discount boxes.
There you go.
And most of them didn't even sell in those, okay? And now they're doing the same thing with Spider-Man. I don't know how many Spider-Man titles there currently are, but they keep adding more. Team Up came back out again this week, so I'm not saying there shouldn't be a Marvel Team Up book. I grew up loving the Marvel Team Up.
The best one's still the Bronze Age.
It is, I agree, but there's too many Spider-Man books.
Yeah.
And when you have so many titles, you're actually competing against yourself. You're guaranteeing. I mean, you can be the hardest core Spider-Man fan of all time. You're going to buy 12 issues a month of different titles? No. Maybe 2 or 3 of those will actually be good. And that's the thing. That could be the old Marvel strategy, like in the old days, where if we just put out more titles, they don't even have to be good. We'll flood the market with Marvels, and then the Marvelites will buy these up, and they won't have any money left to go buy an Image book or a Dark Horse or a DC or whatever. And that strategy doesn't work so much anymore because people aren't loyal to companies like they were when we grew up. And
well, there was Marvel and DC, and there was Harvey,
there was Charlton, and a few others, but by and large, Marvel and DC dominated, and you were mostly either a Marvel guy or a DC guy, and that was it. And but today that's all gone. Well, the creators, for one thing, flow back and forth from one company to another. Well, so most guys are following their artist. Oh, he worked on Batman. Well, now he's going to go work on Fantastic Four. So I'm going to go buy that.
Well, speaking of that, Bendis just recently went to DC. How's the Bendis Superman doing?
It's doing well. It does okay. Did Superman really increase in sales? A month or two, because people were checking out Bendis, but Superman's selling about like Superman always sells. Yeah. And like I say, you could probably interview half the Superman readers. Mm-hmm. They couldn't tell you who the writer or the artist was. They don't care. They buy it because they like Superman. That's why they're buying. My grandmother could draw it, and they wouldn't care because it's Superman.
Well, that's interesting.
So a lot of people are that way. They couldn't tell you who the creators on books are, because I'll see a blank look on their face. I'll say, yeah, Bendis is going to write Superman, and they look at me like, okay, am I supposed to know who that is? Well, they don't know who it is, and what's more, they don't really care.
Do I have to know that before I can buy it?
Yeah, they don't. No, exactly. They don't really care. They just like Superman.
So talk about this. Has there been anything in the last few months come out that's been a pleasant surprise? Anything comic book wise that you're like, wow, that took you by surprise, and you're actually like pushing that on somebody? I heard you talking to some guy here about some of the humanoid stuff being reprinted. And that
reprinting the Mobius books. But nothing surprises me about Mobius. Is hard to hunt down anyway. In English translations of Mobius books tend to sell out very quickly anyway. So yeah, that's a little different because it's a European book that's being reprinted in English. So, but Mobius stuff was always sought after by the discerning collector.
Yeah. Well, DC's Naomi took off on. I mean,
it did. That was kind of that has been sort of a surprise.
I actually scored an issue 2 off the stands yesterday at the Owasso Vintage Stock, but I never could find an issue 1 or 3.
We'll see. It's still a little too early on that. I don't judge books by number ones.
Right.
You know me with my Puke Man scenario. Puke Man number 1 would sell out, okay? Real chunks of vomit right on the cover, and it would sell. Everybody would go buy it. Now, are they going to buy issue number 2? Probably not. But
that's that gimmick. You never want to open the bag on that gimmick.
You don't want to open the bag.
Close it once, and you never open that. You never open that again.
Puke Man, you leave that bagged, okay? Yeah. But how's this series selling by issue kind of 4, 5, and 6? That's going to be the real test. And even of Naomi, the first 2 or 3, they've done fairly well. But we'll see, especially when they start the second storyline of most books. Sometimes publishers will concentrate a lot on the first storyline to make sure it's good and hook everybody, but that second storyline usually doesn't quite live up to the quality of the first storyline. That's pretty common with books, and And so we'll see about Naomi. Naomi is still early days, but so far so good on that book. Yeah.
Have we overdone it on the as far as fans and hunting people? New characters. Oh, first appearance of a new character.
No,
I mean,
I don't think so.
You don't think so? It seems to me like every new character that comes out, they're like
it gets its 15 minutes of fame. I think a lot of that's driven by the internet. People go watch these blog sites.
Like this?
Yeah, pretty much like this. And these guys are telling them, oh, you should go get this book. Oh, you should go buy this variant cover. Oh, you should go do this. Well, people just flock in. I can always tell when something like that happens because I'll get 14 phone calls in 5 minutes, all wanting the same book. Okay?
Well, let me just say this then. For the record, you should buy what you enjoy.
Yeah,
and I just picked up a bunch of old Death's Head Volume 1 off of Mike's 25-cent shelf down there. So that was
takes it away.
That was a fun book.
25-cent books, folks. The cheapest books on earth. You can't beat a deal at 1970s prices.
So come into Comic Empire of Tulsa.
That's right.
And the
fly in today.
Biggest
from
sleazy,
all over the world.
biggest and best sleazy retailer in the nation, right here. And that's by his own admission.